It's Friday. On most Fridays, I don't have any specific topics. We just chat about Freemasonry. Anybody that jumps on and has anything to say about Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, jump in the stream and say hello. Let me just give it 1 second. Hold on just 1 second. And we're good. Audio is working. Okay, let me switch this to public. Let me switch this to on. And let's wait to see who joins. Once again, chatting about Freemasonry. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? Positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. Don't forget, next week, on January 21st, we are going to be doing the 24-hour live stream starting at 2 p.m. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of different streams consecutively. I'm going to be streaming on YouTube. I'm going to be streaming on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming on X as well. Try to do some X spaces. Try to do some reels. Basically, it's going to be multiple different platforms over 24 hours, both consecutively and concurrently. At the start, though, at 2 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to start on YouTube and probably going to try to do Twitch and X as well. And on Sunday, the 18th at 6 p.m., I am going to be doing a test run. So Sunday 6th, I'm going to jump on. I'm going to try to stream on multiple platforms for probably like an hour, something like that, just to see how it goes and just to get the practice in. Because again, it's not something I'm used to doing. Usually I stream exclusively on a single channel. Usually or platform. You know, it's almost always YouTube. But that doesn't, I do want to try something new and different. I've been saying forever, we in Freemasonry need to be willing to try new things and different things. And that I think should include Freemasonry in the digital space. So let's give it a bit of time. Let's see who joins. I hope you guys enjoyed my stuff this week. I talked about, amongst other things, we talked about quality of life, what quality of life is, how it operates, and things that we in Freemasonry can do to try to improve our quality of life, both for ourselves and our members, how to bring, for lack of a better term, quality of life practices into Freemasonry, and how Freemasonry in and of itself improves quality of life. I also talked about and very much enjoyed, or talked about slip and fall prevention. We have a lot of older members, but anybody really is at risk of slipping or falling, especially when you have such terrible weather as we've had. I also talked about the current situation with the Metropolitan Police in United Kingdom, and the current status of their requirement to have Freemasons report their affiliations, either current or past. We talked about a lot of things this week, and I enjoyed it very much, so it's been going well. Either the greatest or second greatest boxer in the world. I'm going to call you, I can't, 4051. I guess the debate would be him or Mike Tyson, I think, is usually the debate as to who was better. And I guess what I'll say is, I think either or are pretty reasonable picks as the greatest fighter of all time. So there you go. There's that. Well, I'm glad your house is clean. Tell your cleaning lady thank you, and I hope you're doing well. We actually have the Grand Master coming into the lodge tonight, so this is going to be a little bit of a shorter stream than usual because I want to make sure I give myself time to get to the Masonic Temple, maybe clean up a little bit, get myself a haircut. That's going to be important, all that good jazz. And also try to get there sooner rather than later, because we are looking at some potentially bad weather again. So if anybody's watching this and you are going to be hitting up the meeting tonight in Windsor, or if you're from Michigan, whatever it is, and you're going to be hitting up the meeting in Windsor, give yourself some extra time to get there, because we're looking at some more snow. So don't leave it to the last minute. I asked some questions because one thing I want to study and learn more about is the poly market, which is I don't know how much anybody knows about that, but it's something that I find kind of scary. It's kind of commodifying basically everything, turning everything into a bet. I know people who are really struggling with it. I don't know any Masons as of right now that are struggling with it, but that doesn't mean that they won't struggle with it in future. So I'd like to get ahead of it. I think we as Freemasons need to be paying attention to what could potentially become a problem for our brethren in the future. What you should do, user, is hit the like and subscribe button, is what you should do. Nice, real cowboy Dan, congratulations. So really, dude, no, Ross Johnson, go to the hospital. Um, Go to the hospital. Um, well, I'm very sorry that your girlfriend almost left you. So thoughts of transcendental meditation. So I don't know like transcendental meditation and what that is specifically, but I do believe in meditative practices are a good thing. In fact, I've argued in the past that at every Masonic lodge, we should spend the first 10 to 15 minutes engaged in guided meditations, breathing exercises, some type of mindfulness exercise to help, or even at the end of the lodge. But I think we in Freemasonry should spend more time engaging in mindfulness practices, including meditation. Uh, Unapologetically Albertan. Usually when somebody says they're unapologetically anything, I get concerned because no one's asking you to apologize for being from Alberta. In fact, Alberta is an awesome place. One of my, in terms of like provinces that I visited in the past, Alberta's up there. I wish I could visit it again. It's been so long. Really, it's been so long since I've been anywhere in Canada west of Manitoba. I've been to a lot of places all around the world, but in Canada, not so much. So yeah, I got to get to Alberta again. Thank you, RKW. Hey, Spirit. There's a Masonic Lodge everywhere. Um, 4051. There's a Masonic Lodge. I mean, my assumption is I don't know the history of Freemasonry in Thailand, but my assumption would be it came through either British military garrisons or trade unions, or not trade unions, excuse me, trade ships like merchant ships docking at port. Because if I understand correctly, Thailand is like it has a pretty significant coast uh, where ships would come into trade, like a pretty significant port. Yeah, the Gulf of Thailand, Bangkok is on the water as well. When Freemasonry was spreading, I've said it before, Freemasonry is the story of water and stone. Stone is the obvious one, right? Freemasonry evolving from stonemasonry. But water, I mean, Freemasonry began in England. To spread outside of England, it relied on naval merchant ships or navy ships or merchant ships, or a combination of both. Which is why early on, most of the lodges you see outside of England were very often in ports or port towns. Certainly in America, that was the case with Boston. In Canada, Nova Scotia, saw lodges popping up in Hong Kong, Macau. So honestly, I would be surprised if there wasn't Freemasonry in Thailand and a pretty decent Masonic presence there. Um, how can I get an FBI man to fall in love with me? It's just, well, I mean, I would say I will give this advice for whatever it's worth. You shouldn't worry about getting anybody to fall in love with you. You should just try to be the best version of yourself, and good people will find you. I know that sounds cheesy, but I think it's true. I am not obsessed with Thailand. I like to visit Thailand, but I'd also like to visit Japan. I'd like to visit. There's a lot of places I want to visit in 2025. I think Japan is on the top of my list. Although I also want to get back to the Philippines for an event they're having. Obviously, I want to spend more time in Chicago and Illinois because I love those places. Um, I mean, I love Calgary. Calgary is a great city, as is Edmonton, as is I love Alberta. It's a great place, great province. A lot of great Freemasons therein. It is 2026. That is true. I don't think I'm living in the past, although I do enjoy history. So it sounds like you are unapologetically Albertan, but you don't seem to like a lot of Alberta. At least you don't seem to like Edmonton or Calgary. Now, there's way more to Alberta than those two cities, don't get me wrong. Alberta is just a beautiful province in general, but if you're going to be unapologetically Albertan, you should probably be supportive of the two biggest cities within the province, at least the two cities that probably produce the most economic output for the rest of the province. Um, Zara, now we're getting into particle physics. By the way, we're here to chat about Freemasonry. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. Having said that, on these Friday streams, I don't have any particular topics. Rather, I just wait to see who jumps in the chat to say hello. Um, well, near I don't know what type of documentaries necessarily, but I will say yes. There are a ton. So Tubi, Tubi, has a lot of great movies, but also great documentaries, and is completely free. Also, though, most libraries now, if you get a library card, you can sign up for digital download services. That includes you can download and borrow e-movies, including documentaries. Hoopla, Hoopla, and Canopy, Kanopy, are two great services. You can access them both with your library card, at least in Windsor. You can access them both through your library card, sign up. And it's basically a digital library. You rent ebooks as well as movies, including documentaries, completely for free. You usually have 3 days to watch them, then they get returned digitally back to the main source, and you can rent some more. I'm a big supporter of local libraries, whether it be, I mean, any local library, but I love the one in Windsor. I love the one in Glenview as well. Not only do they have actual, not only do they have actual, um, like physical books and stuff that you can rent, but you can rent things again, on digital services. I really like Hoopla, Hoopla. It's completely free. And yeah, so I hope that helps you. I really want to get to West Virginia. I know some really cool brothers from West Virginia. Never been there though. No worries, near. I mean, yeah. The biggest question would be go to your local library, get out a library card, but ask them like, if they have any digital rental services. Again, Windsor does, Glenview does, Fort Lauderdale does. So I'd assume most would. Um, Libby, yes, Libby is a great one. Also, I just heard about that one, so I want to check it out. And also, if you are still a connoisseur of physical media, which I feel like is making a comeback, libraries are one of the few places where you can actually still, they're one of the few places where you can actually still rent DVDs and physical media. So give that shout out as well. You are in the Matrix. So you think we're all in a um, what's the word? A simulation? Is that the argument? Um, well, that's not how it works. Google isn't God. You need to get a sponsor. However, the sponsor needs to come from the lodge which you're looking at joining. I would double check to make sure you're joining a legitimate lodge because they should not be asking you for a recommendation outside of the lodge itself. You get to know them, you talk to them, you learn more about them, they learn more about you, and at some point they'll give you a sponsor. It doesn't happen right away. Usually you got to go out for coffee, dinners, just get to know them, and they get to know you. Um, in terms of a referral, though, I don't know where you're from. I don't know what lodges are in your area. I'm a diva. I mean, I will say I'm a lot of things, Allen's. A diva strikes me as the last thing I am. I am the worst. Because to me, when I think of a diva, I think of somebody who's really obsessed with their appearance and with, clothes and all that stuff. I've never cared about how I dress. I never cared about how I look, luckily. I've never cared about any of that stuff. So it strikes me as, shall we say, highly questionable that I am, in fact, a diva. What I am is someone who loves Freemasonry and wants you to hit the like and subscribe button. No, whether you're rich or poor does not make a difference in terms of being a Mason. You don't buy your way into Masonry, nor do you buy your way into higher degrees. Um, okay, yes, by all means, make the Instagram account, find me there. I'd love that. I always will love it when people, again, one thing I've been really trying to focus on lately is making sure that it's not simply, you don't simply find me through YouTube, but also on other sites where I post. Um, because one of the things I want to make sure is, right, that I'm being followed on all my different social media sites. So, yeah. I'm not sure what the keys are, Zara, to which you're referring. I mean, Masonic lodges have literal keys, obviously. Sometimes not even keys anymore. Sometimes they're key cards now, where you can, get into the lodge or whatever it might be to enter the building. But I don't know otherwise what you mean. Well, that's good of you, the real cowboy. I would just say make sure you're being careful. Um, it's important that it's good of you to want to take care of people and help people, but I think you want to also make sure you're being safe. Just my advice. Um, you are not given an STD choice before joining. You would not have to be. That would be strange. There'd be no reason to. Now, having said that, I will say just in general, I would support anyone if they think they need to get an STD test. You always want to be careful. Um, Poke Dreamlab, if you can't, I make you an intro. But that's in your day-to-day life. Freemasonry, it's completely irrelevant whether you have an STD or you don't, because Freemasonry, that's never going to be an issue within Freemasonry. But in your day-to-day life, if you've been maybe doing some unsafe stuff, I would recommend you get an STD test, I suppose. Um, so there are no keywords in Freemasonry, Zara. There are traditional, some call them words that Masons have, but I wouldn't use the term keywords, and it's not really relevant. If you want to find out if someone's a Mason, usually just ask them and then ask for a dues card or which lodge they're a member of and all that type of stuff. Can you tell me one best thing about being a Mason? So I can tell you, Napo, one best thing for me. Every Mason will answer this differently, but for me personally, the best thing about being a Mason has been that it puts me in a privileged position to try to make the world a better place through the application of brotherly love, relief, and truth. And that's something I'm grateful for. No Illuminatis. Freemasons are not the Illuminati. Another thing, it makes me feel close to my grandfather who passed away before I was born. I've talked before about how, I'm very, uh, consider myself. I never got to meet him. He passed away before I was born. But, being a Freemason does make me feel closer to him in a way, especially when I got to visit his Masonic lodge, his Masonic building, anyways, Halt Whistle. That was really, really cool. And thank you, everybody. We officially made it. We are over 3,300 subs. I mean, no, everybody can be homeless. Anybody can be homeless. Anybody who argues it'll never happen to them, that's simply not the case. It's always possible. Now, I will say this about homelessness. I've talked about this before. It is absolutely possible to, through civic engagement and through what's called social capital, to mitigate the worst aspects of homelessness. I was given this example before, but I used to say two, but it's actually three. Three Masons who would have been homeless were it not for Masonic lodges stepping in and providing them assistance, providing them with money to cover their rent, money to cover their mortgage. And in one case, it wasn't just a Mason. It was, he had a family. So if not for Mason stepping in, both him and his wife and his kids would have been homeless. And it's an example of social capital. Not only does that help the brother and his family, that is a safety net for the entire community, because if Masons aren't there and the brother ends up homeless, and his family, that's one more group of people on the street. It's one more group of people who need a shelter bed, who need social assistance, who will need to avail themselves more frequently of, let's say, social services, medical services, because when you're homeless, you have more health issues. And so, when Freemasonry steps in, it's not just helping the individual, it's helping the whole community. Also, this is why I always suggest, I think Masonic lodges should keep a list of brothers and keep a list of brothers who have spare bedrooms or spare couches. So let's say a brother has a crisis, has an emergency. Let's say he gets divorced and he has to leave the house, or the house burns down, heaven forbid, or for whatever reason he can't stay in his house. He can call his lodge secretary, hey, I need a place to crash. And the secretary has a list of, these are the brothers that have a spare bedroom, that have a spare bed. These are the brothers who have a spare bedroom and have a spare bed that is, accessible. Because obviously, let's say the brother who loses his house is older and can't climb stairs. You want to send him to another house where the bed or the couch, whatever it is on the main floor. There's no stairs to get up. Whatever it is, right? It's little things, but it matters. Hello, Thomas Roman. Thank you for being here. Um, well, I mean, the real cowboy, what I would say is it sounds like maybe you have some issues to deal with before you look at joining Freemasonry. Maybe you should deal with those first. Well, I mean, those are the seven liberal arts and sciences. There's also seven muses. There's also seven deadly sins. Seven is also, I think it's usually a very common prime number. It's a very common number in a lot of different factors. But yeah, within Freemasonry, we are definitely encouraged to remember the liberal arts and sciences. You do not need a psychiatrist exam before joining, but what I would say is if you're somebody who thinks maybe I should have a psychiatric exam before joining, maybe you shouldn't join Freemasonry and maybe you should focus on getting that exam. That might be the most important thing. Um, because, look, Freemasonry, it's one of those things where it's absolutely, I truly believe it helps people. But you shouldn't be joining if you are necessarily significantly struggling, because there is a level of commitment, time, sacrifice that goes into being a Freemason, especially early on, even financially, right? Like there's dues and fees you have to pay. If you're struggling with a lot of different things, it may be better to get those in order first. That's why, for example, I'm always recommending that one thing we should consider getting from our applicants is a credit check. Because if a brother is trying to join Freemasonry, or an applicant is trying to join Freemasonry, but he has very bad credit, um, will joining put him in a financially difficult situation? And how can we best deal with that? Well, we're not assassins, so I don't know. Um, Hello, Trayvon. Light free. I'm doing well. Thomas Roman, Vega, Alferi, ask away. 1 dozen eggs. How's it going? Thank you for being here. I hope that you're doing well. Having 1 dozen eggs in this economy is very, very impressive. So good for you. What is going on though? What is up? What is happening? What do you want to talk about? What's your question? Let's give it a bit of time. Let's see who joins. And by the way, please don't forget to take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to mark on your calendar January 21st, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a 24-hour live stream starting at um, I can't think of the time now. Um, starting on Sunday, the 18th at 6 p.m., we're going to do a practice run because on the 21st, I'm going to try streaming on multiple different platforms and I want to do a practice run on Sunday. It's not going to be any specific topics, it's just going to be a practice run to see how it goes. I'm going to try sometimes streaming consecutively, sometimes streaming concurrently. We'll see. I cannot, user. You're on your own with that one. I cannot. Right now, Google isn't God. I'm doing this or trying to do this. So help a brother out and give me a super chat or become a member, join Patreon, whatever it might be. That stuff helps out big time. Google isn't God. That's much appreciated. But having said that, I will remind everybody, just obviously doing a super chat helps out. Even 99 cents helps out big time. But just being here helps out as well. Just showing up for the stream, sharing it, liking, subscribing, that stuff helps out big time. So the main live, the 24-hour live, is January 21st. So less than a week at 2 p.m. Eastern. And just hit like and sub as well. Thank you, Ben. Light free, many Masons do sponsor sports teams. There's actually this program out of California called Mason for Mitts, where they actually purchase a whole bunch of mitts for local little league teams, especially areas where it's maybe more underprivileged. The players or the area might not have the money, or the team might have the money to purchase equipment. They will purchase all new baseball mitts and baseball gloves for the membership. So, which is really cool. Hello, hi from Carol in England. I hope that you're doing well. Thank you for being here. I hope that everything is going good. Skim Life Outdoors. What does Mason mean when they say making good men better? Honestly, Skim, I've never been a huge fan of that. It sounds a bit too slogany for me. Um, I've never been a huge fan of that necessarily. But generally, what it means is, Freemasonry definitely illuminates certain lessons that can help you live better in 2025 in 2026. Like it helps you, reminds you of certain attributes that can make you, if not a better person, at least a better member of the community and a better family member and friend and brother and all that jazz, right? It illuminates skills and the value of universal tolerance, respect for different opinions, dedication. It gives you skills in things like memorization, organizing meetings, in some ways, even conflict resolution. If there's two brothers having a conflict, how best to deal with it in a respectful way. And that's a really cool thing and a really beautiful thing about it, right? The example I would always give, let's say you are a football player, right? The purpose of being a football player isn't necessarily to make you a better man, but you are going to learn and develop certain skills and abilities as part of being a better man, as part of being a football player, right? You're going to learn the value of teamwork. You're going to learn the value of physical fitness. You're going to learn the value of being there for your teammates. You're going to learn the value of sportsmanship, of not cheating, of practice, of a good diet, all those things will make you, if not a better person, at least a better member of the community and society. Freemasonry, it's the same thing. It illuminates the value of hard work, dedication, kindness, tolerance for others, temperance. You develop certain skills, being willing to sacrifice, discipline, all that stuff. I don't know if it makes you a better man per se, but it definitely makes you a better part of the community. They should use their, that would make things way more exciting if they had a sword fight. I would show up way, I think you'd get people showing up to lodge all the time if there's the potential for a sword fight. Certainly it'd be more entertaining. Um, Starboy the Knight, thank you for being here. Looks like he put in a lot of different symbols for a lot of different religions, which I think is, again, Freemasonry, universal tolerance. We have a lot of different religions represented in Lodge. That is one of my favorite things about it. In some ways, Freemasonry was the original kind of organization that promoted universal tolerance, or at least tolerance for different religious beliefs. Um, Freemasonry is one of the few places where a CEO and a plumber call each other brother and mean it. We should talk about that more. I would agree with that 100%. Um, all right, let's give it a bit more time and let's wait to see who joins. As I was saying before, I have to leave earlier because I do have a visit from the Grand Master. Um, so I need to get ready for that, get to the lodge, get myself a haircut. Got to look nice for the Grand Master before he shows up. Um, yes, Dad brings up a good point. Remember, everyone deployed. You should absolutely do the case. Um, that should absolutely be the case because they're out there sacrificing not just, potentially their lives, but they're sacrificing their health. They're sacrificing spending time with their families. They're sacrificing mental health issues can pop up, PTSD. The point is you're making a great deal of sacrifices. So definitely remember them and be grateful for them. No spells. I don't believe in magic. We don't cast any spells. I'm very sorry to disappoint. Um, I don't believe in magic, so I could not cast a spell even if I wanted to. The Grand Master does not have magical powers. Um, so the Grand Master does not, nor does anybody within Freemasonry. Freemasonry does not give you magical powers. I'm very sorry to disappoint. If you're joining for that reason, you're going to be sorry. He is actually, if I recall correctly, he's not. He's from Sarnia, I think. So this nose encourages you to hit the like and subscribe button, not Putin's burner. Um, well, if you're gonna cast spells, you need to use glitter. Obviously, by the way, My Bloody Valentine was released on this day in 2009. I'm a big fan of scary movies, and actually I like that movie quite a bit. I think it's kind of underrated in terms of horror remakes. So, wishing the best of luck or maybe everybody should watch that movie. I keep meaning to get back into doing midnight movie watch-alongs on my personal YouTube channel, which I've definitely been ignoring as of late. So maybe I'll do those once again. Who knows? Oh, I mean, if anybody were to use glitter in a Masonic lodge, people would lose their mind. Um, Like the people have to clean the lodge, to have them sitting there. Oh, it started to snow. To have them sitting there cleaning up glitter after somebody cast a spell. I can only imagine whomever is responsible for vacuuming the lodge would lose your, like they would lose their mind. It'd be hilarious to see. Um, yes, as someone who's been to a few clubs of a certain sort, I can assure you, glitter does get everywhere. All right, let's give it a bit more time. Let's wait to see once again who joins. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Um, Freemasons have no weaknesses. I can assure you, we're all the most handsome, awesome people there is. Again, don't forget, please hit that like and subscribe button. Again, on to these Friday live streams. I don't have any specific topics. After this, the next stream will be Sunday, January 18th at 2 p.m. Um, Sunday, January 18th at 6 p.m. Excuse me, Sunday, I can talk. Sunday, January 16th at 6 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a practice run. I'm going to try streaming on multiple platforms simultaneously and concurrently. I'm going to, some I'll be doing at the same time. Then I'll switch off some, go to others. And that's practice for January 21st, starting at 2 p.m., when I will have my 24-hour live stream. So yeah. I mean, he doesn't have powers in a mystical sense. He's a human being. He has authority vested in him through the office, including authority to, call out a lodge if it's struggling or whatever it might be. But um, that's different than he doesn't have magical powers. There are, Brenda Rigby. I mean, Freemasonry in Nevada is really cool. They usually every year do different special events, either at like the OK Corral or like the OK Corral or the Gallows or whatever it is. It's really cool. They go around and do a ton of like really fancy Old West style events. Freemasonry, actually, in the West, it's a really cool story. Like a lot of Masonic lodges, after the initial push, like after the initial kind of coastal lodges were formed in the United States, when America started to expand westward, Freemasonry expanded with it, including into California, Nevada, where there were these gold rush towns, and lodges would form as a consequence of that. I don't think that's offensive. I mean, I didn't really watch Blue's Clues. It was, way before my time, or way after my time. I was an adult when Blue's Clues came out, but I'm familiar at least with the name. Nice. Ohio's got a lot of great Masonic lodges as well. Um, so yeah, I love Ohio, and Ohio's not too far from us here in Windsor, right? If I recall correctly, it's like 2 hours, um, something to that effect. So curiosity, go ahead. I'll do my best to answer. Can't make any promises, but I'll do my best to answer your questions. Let's hear the question though. Yes, I mean I've talked about this a bunch of times. Look, I understand that a lot of Masons, a lot of, I shouldn't say Masons, I understand a lot of Canadians have expressed concern about traveling to the States. I get it. I don't blame anybody if they don't want to travel to the States right now. I will say for me, I've chosen to continue visiting the States because I don't want a current political situation to affect the relationship I have with my brothers in the States, whether it be in, Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, or anywhere else. And the fact that I live so close to the States, as do so many Canadians, and for that matter, so many Americans live close to Canada. I don't think, I just hope we remember that the current political situation is made of sand. Freemasonry and the bonds of brotherhood should be built upon stone. Um, Brenda, well, I'm sorry that you're in the Nevada desert and you're in need of shelter and fuel. I mean, Freemasonry can sometimes assist with, certainly with brethren who find themselves, um, find themselves without shelter. But I don't really know enough about the resources in Nevada to say where you can go. I would assume most towns have if not a shelter, at least some type of civic or community organization, like a church that maybe has a food bank can offer you shelter. Um, well, I don't think that. I mean, honestly, I've never had any issues traveling to the States recently. Like it's been fine, but I do get the concern. I'm not going to pretend like I don't understand why that concern exists. Um, I think I saw something about that, but I didn't read much about it, so I can't say. There really isn't much for those of us. That's true everywhere. If you're struggling, it can absolutely be a challenge. Again, within Freemasonry, members have been able to get support from Masonic lodges. In some cases, it keeps them in their home. They get food. That's why, again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think every Masonic lodge should have a list, keep it with the secretary, of brothers who have a spare bedroom or a spare couch. So if any brother ever found themselves needing shelter, they know where to go. Or for that matter, if you have a brother Mason visiting from out of town, and for whatever reason he gets stuck and he can't get back home, and he needs a place to stay, he can call the local lodge, and the lodge can say, "Yeah, Jim has a place you can crash or has a couch." As someone who once upon a time got stuck in a town when the train was canceled, if not for a brother taking me in, um, and letting me stay with him, I would have been sleeping at the train station more than likely. I don't think I saw your question, Curiosity Nudge. Oh, do you think the Europe situation? Well, I mean, there's a lot to say. When you say Europe situation, do you mean Europe situation in terms of like the political situation, the Masonic situation in Europe? I don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen with Freemasonry in Europe or around the world. I mean, how many people would have guessed 50 years ago that, or 100 years ago, that, the Philippines or Cuba or Brazil would become some of the fastest growing Masonic areas? Like, who knows? I suppose optimism is generally a good thing. Um, if you're talking about the political situation in Europe, again, I have no idea. Right now, we're all kind of holding our breath to see what happens in Greenland. So yeah, we shall see. I do not have friends. I mean, I have brothers in France. I've never been to France though. Been to London and been to England and Scotland. Sadly, never France. So it's on my list though. I have to go now. No worries. Thank you though for being here, Curiosity. I hope I answered your question well. When you say World War III is here, I don't think. I mean, I guess it would be depending on how you define World War III, Nathan. And Total Tech, have a good weekend to you as well. What I would say, Nathan, is I don't think like I don't know whether World War III is here or not, but I will say I do sometimes wonder if, and I don't mean to like sound like I'm making light of a situation, if If there were more Freemasons around the world, especially in positions of governance, would that result in fewer wars and fewer conflicts and better relations between neighbors and between governments? I don't know what the answer to that is, but I always think about that. Like, I don't know if you guys saw, there's this movie that came out recently called House of Dynamite. It was on Netflix. It was really good. I liked it a lot. And one of the things that they said that I really thought was fascinating was so basically the premise of the movie is there's a nuclear bomb, or they detect a missile traveling over the Pacific Ocean, and they realize that it's going to land in Chicago. And they believe it's a nuclear weapon. So basically, 10 million people are going to be hit by a nuclear weapon. When they detect it, from when they first detect it to when it lands, it's 20 minutes. And basically, the entire movie is different people within those 20 minutes trying to figure out how to respond to it. And there's this one scene, which I really love, where the Secretary of, or I think it's the Undersecretary of Defense, um, is speaking to his counterpart in Russia because nobody knows who sent this missile. Nobody knows who fired it or where it came from. And obviously, Russia is freaking out that America will blame Russia for sending the missile and then will respond by attacking them and then nuclear war, right? And so Russia is trying to convince America that they didn't do it, that we didn't do it, whatever, right? It wasn't us. And please don't retaliate. And so they're talking to each other, and the Secretary of Defense or Undersecretary of Defense at one point says, if we get this wrong, nobody is alive tomorrow. Because his whole point is if we get this wrong and America decides to retaliate with nuclear weapons, and then Russia retaliates with nuclear weapons, and then everybody retaliates with nuclear weapons, that's the extinction of the human race, basically. Um, I always wondered in that moment if they were both Freemasons and they both somehow knew that they were Freemasons, would that have resulted in a better level of trust between those government officials? Would that have maybe helped? I mean, the tensions are the tensions. A nuclear weapon is heading to the States, but could it have cooled the tensions, at least between those two in that conversation? Would it have made any difference at all? I have no idea. But I think it's fascinating to think about. I mean, and there's some evidence in history that Masonic brethren, Masonic connections have resulted in the cooling of tensions between governments. Like, for example, Persia and France, um, Churchill and FDR got along famously well. They were both Freemasons, but there's also plenty of evidence in the opposite direction, such as King George and George Washington were both Freemasons. Didn't stop them from going to war. I mean, I'm not one who knocks when he said New World Order. Like, I think what he meant is the previous the previous international order that was imposed by kind of a Pax America, Pax Americana. This idea of America keeps the peace around the world and acts in accordance with certain set kind of rules and obligations is no longer the case. There is going to be a new world order. Part of that's going to be a new economic order, meaning maintaining your, connections with, let's say, or increasing your trade with other countries, as well as even interprovincially. It's also going to mean a new military order because there's already a current world order in place. I just think there's going to be a new one pretty soon. But I don't think he meant that in the sense of a single government controlling everything else. Welcome. If you're just joining us, thank you for being here. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, hit that 99-cent super chat. Helps out the channel big time. And thank you all for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. Marty McFly, that's not a bad attitude to have, to be honest. That reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, which is from Marcus Aurelius, which is, what are you afraid of losing when nothing belongs to you anyways? In some ways, you could argue even your life does not truly belong to you. It belongs to the universe, which gave it. Now, I don't completely agree with that, but I think that's an interesting way to look at things. Well, power will always be intoxicating. I think it's human nature, right? I would say in some cases, people also seek out the opposite, though. They seek out a level of powerlessness, because if they can be powerless, what that can mean is there's no consequences for their actions, or they feel like there's no consequences for their actions. So I think either way, people seek out both. Well, Marty, if I am wise, I hope you'll consider doing a 99-cent super chat to help the channel. I also hope that you will, let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry. Again, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. Yes, I got a big forehead Decker box. Please hit like and subscribe. I mean, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know him. What I would say is I'm not going to assume he doesn't care because he was a high-level banker. I think getting into politics, look, you're giving up a lot of yourself. That was true for Mark Carney. That's true for Trudeau. That's true for Stephen Harper, with whom I worked, or for whom, not with, for whom I worked. So I subscribe. Thank you, Springtrap. I really appreciate that. What is my thoughts on the WEF, the World Economic Forum? I don't have a lot of thoughts on WEF because I don't know a lot about them. Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again and again and then again. Um, you cannot separate the condition of Freemasonry from the conditions of the community, city, province, country, and even world in which it's located. But it's all relative. So, what I mean by that is the economic conditions within one's local town will affect the town Masonic Lodge more than international Masonic conditions. But there's a domino effect. Things start at the international level and then they'll trickle down and affect the economy at the local level. So, we need to pay attention to those things. But when I'm looking at economic news, for example, I try to first and foremost look at the economic news within, the economic news within first and foremost, like Windsor and Southern Ontario, and then Canada, and then beyond. So I try, yes, busy slim, it is Mason time. I try not to, I mean, I try almost, as of right now, to my knowledge, and I would have to think back because I've been doing these streams for about a year, but I don't believe I've ever banned anybody. I'll put people in timeout if I think it's getting a bit much, but I do my best to never ban somebody because once you ban someone, you lose the ability to communicate with them. And if you lose the ability to communicate with them, my goal of promoting the ways Freemasonry was and is relevant to the communities in which it's located, that's one less person with whom I can communicate and with whom I can promote these Masonic connections. So yeah, I guess what I'd say is I hope I never, um, I'll do my best to never ban anybody. Not that it won't ever happen. I'm not saying I'm 100% opposed to it, but it's not something I ever want to do. And we got to think about it. For better or worse, these people who have their views on Freemasonry, they're out there. They exist. I mean, banning them is not going to get them to change their mind, and it'll just make me harder to reach them with, I mean, if nothing else, maybe not the truth, but at least my truths of Freemasonry. So Wef is a billionaire. Again, I don't know enough about it to say. So what I would say is I think it's worth learning more, and I should learn more because again, if the WEF is making a decision and that decision affects the economies within towns and communities, then as a consequence of that, we're all going to be affected by it. So I'm just trying to check something quickly. But the economy is always better. I mean, Jeremy, I would say I'm more actually right wing, even though people don't believe me, than left wing. Freemasonry is not a political organization. We have brethren who are of all different, Masonic beliefs. They could be left wing, they could be right wing, they could be center. What I would say is, look, and this is definitely one of the biggest challenges that we face within Freemasonry. I've said it before, I'll say it again. We can't ignore the conditions within our country, our community. That also means we can't ignore, for example, what's happening within our communities, and we should support things which will help our communities. However, at what point does helping things equate with taking political stances? That becomes dangerous because then people start to associate you not even so much with the community, but with the politics of the community, or with a political party or a mayor and mayor. Like it gets tough to figure out how to find that balance. I do hope that we within Freemasonry are always cheerleaders for our communities, but not necessarily cheerleaders for a particular political ideology or politician in particular, if that makes any sense. There is not a Mason gay club, nor is there a Mason. You wouldn't need one. That would be silly. Freemasonry welcomes men of all different. I mean, I've sat in lodge with gay men, straight men. It's not about sexual orientation. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, Paul Danino. Well, that's a really good question, Minotaur. I've talked about this before, right? One of the biggest challenges we have in Freemasonry, and this is both as individual Freemasons as well as the organization, is how do we get people to remain engaged and active, especially if they, as you have said, have done it all, right? I joined Freemasonry when I was 24. I think the Hells Angels would win, to be honest, at least in a street fight. If you want to ask who's better at, who makes the world a better place, then it's 100,000% Freemasons, because Hells Angels is a criminal organization, to my understanding. Eagle. Actually, Canada Goose. So this idea of like retiring from Freemasonry, so when you join, one of the things that can engage you or motivate you to continue showing up is there's always another thing to accomplish, or there's always another title to achieve. It's like playing a video game. There's always another level to get to, right? You get your EA, but then you need to get your fellow craft. You get your fellow craft, then you need to get your worshipful master. Master mason. You become a master mason, then you become a steward. Then from a steward, you go to, deacons. From deacons, I'm talking about emulation ritual. The offices kind of change here and there, but you go office to office to office, then you become a warden, and then you become a worshipful master. Then maybe you become an installing master. Then maybe you can become a district deputy grandmaster. But at a certain point, it's like, okay, I've done it all. I've done all the jobs. I'm 25 years in. What is my motivation now? And that's actually a real problem. It's called, and this isn't something that unique to Freemasonry. It's called the over justification effect, where, for example, a job or an employment will, a place of employment will try to keep people showing up to the job by saying, like, we're going to give you another promotion, we'll give you another title, we'll give you another employee of the year award. Sooner or later, the motivations wear off. And also, there's this true thing. Thank you, Smokey, for being here. There's absolutely this thing called, Masonic burnout, and it's very, very, very real. Um, what I would say is, I mean, I can't speak for you, Minotaur. Whenever I have found myself burned out from Freemasonry, and it's happened a lot, um, there have been times where I would miss a meeting. It's incredibly rare, but there have been times when I miss a meeting. There have been times when, like, my usual response to burnout is A, to remind myself that it's not about me, that whether I enjoy going to a lodge or not is not really relevant. What matters more is what it means to others. So never underestimate the value of your presence. You going to a brother's degree, his first degree, his second degree, his third degree, even if you have nothing to do but sit there, even if you've seen the degree a million times, for that brother, it's his, literally, it's the first time he's ever taken that degree. And to see brethren appear in the lodge and be there for him, it's a big deal and it means a lot. So it's not about you, it's about him, right? Whether you enjoy it or not, doesn't matter. Um, and try to make sure you have interests and enjoyments outside of the craft. So that one of the ways that you can get burned out is if all of your energy is being focused on one thing, Freemasonry, and you're not mixing it up, you're going to burn out. Try to travel. I find travel is and visitation is a really great tool to get that motivation back. But also, try to think about every day at least one good thing that happened. It doesn't have to be Masonic, but just one good thing that happened. Like today, I won a new pair of socks. I also won a new flashlight. I found $2 in a vending machine when I went to get something, $2 extra. Like those seem like small things, but they're not. They're actually things that made my day better. And if I can remember those things that made my day better, when I have to go to lodge tonight, whether I want to or not, I'll enjoy it more because I had a better day before. And in my experience, the best way to deal with a lack of motivation is to just keep showing up until the motivation returns. If you leave, the motivation will likely leave with you. So I guess that's my advice for whatever it's worth. Um, that's really cool. Knife party. By the way, please hit like and subscribe. 6219 knife. So both of those things were very common. It was very common for Masons to not talk about their Freemasonry to even family. That's changing now, and I think that's a really good thing. Um, so I'm very happy about that. But yeah, very often you would have Masonic funerals. And I think, a lot of times people will say that a Masonic funeral is ultimately done like for the brother. And in some ways it is. It's a way for us as Masons to say goodbye to the departed brother. But in other ways, it's a way for Masons to take a moment to say thank you to those left behind. Thank you for letting your husband, your father, your brother, your friend, your nephew, your whatever it is, thank you for giving him, for letting him spend time with us. Because every hour he spends in a Masonic lodge is 1 hour he's not spending with his wife, is 1 hour he's not spending with his kids. And we have a responsibility to try, to say thank you for that. So, yeah, that is absolutely the case. Um, well, thank you for giving me the like. I say it all the time because I never know who's showing up and not. And right, there's 12 people watching this. Not everybody's in the stream. So when I say like and subscribe, I'm not saying it to anyone in specific. I'm just saying it to everyone. Hello, Moo. Thank you for being here. Well, I mean, it's not gay nor it's not a sexual orientation at all. It's a civic group. But, you know, what can I say? If that's how it sounds to you, Paul, then so be it. Well, that's not the case at all, Light Free. Many Masons have left and many Masons have joined again. I mean, there's different ways to leave too. Some Masons leave in the sense of they will pay, they will pay, they'll keep paying their dues, but never show back up to lodge. Other times they'll just stop paying their dues and you never hear from them. Sometimes they'll demit. There's a million different kind of ways that they'll do those things. I do not, 83. Freemasonry is not a religion. I have my own version of the Supreme Being, but every Mason does. There are Islamic Masons, Jewish, Hindu, Sikh, etc., etc. I mean, individual Masons may have their own opinion, but by and large, no. Especially if I don't know, you have to move for work or something or whatever it is. Usually, it's kind of understood that people have their lives and they make their choices, and your choices are your choices. You're adult, you can do what you want. Um, well, if he's ranting, he's probably mentally not well. Just because you're a Mason doesn't mean you can't be wrong or make mistakes or not understand what you're talking about. Um, Again, light free. No, you do not. Honestly, certified Ripper, Freemasons are human beings. There's been a few times where I thought I was going to get into a fist fight with some brothers where the passions got pretty raised. Because we're human beings. And because we're human beings, we make mistakes, we get angry, we get our feelings hurt. Like, you know, those things happen, for better or worse. But we absolutely have a responsibility to find a way to um, work through them. And, it never came to a fist fight and we talked it out. And in some cases, I would consider them now friends. In other cases, I don't necessarily know if I consider them, like, I don't necessarily know if I like those brethren per se, but I respect them and I appreciate that they're my brother. And I would be there for them in the same way that, I'm sure they'd be there for me. But human nature is such that, yeah, passions arise. I've never seen anything happen within a lodge to the credit. It's always been outside of a lodge after guys start talking, passions raise. It happens. It happens, right? But Freemasonry, I think, gives you the tools to step up to a brother, yell at a brother, whatever it is, have the brother yell back at you, and then the next day, all is forgiven. Or at least you're able to work together again. That's what, I think one thing is one of the biggest issues I think we have nowadays within Freemasonry is this tendency to just constantly, or not within Freemasonry, excuse me. One of the biggest issues we have within the world right now is our tendency to hold on to grudges, right? We'll hold on to political grudges, hold on to religious grudges. That's not helpful. It doesn't help society move forward at all. Honestly, Paul, you're not completely wrong. In some ways, it is a job that doesn't pay you if you treat it like I do. But if you want to pay me, do a super chat, Paul. 99-cent super chat helps out big time. But yeah, there was a time when I was doing 50 hours a week within Freemasonry and not getting paid a dime. It was really hard. But one of the issues I do think we need is we need to find a way to create an ability for Masons to turn their passion for Freemasonry into a profession. Because if you don't have that ability, then you are severely limiting how much time a Mason can spend on Freemasonry, especially if he has a family. I was lucky in that because I don't have a family, I'm able to take more financial risks and not, I'm not risking other people, a wife and a kid who I need to provide for. Um, that is true. In a lodge room, no politics or religion discussed. That doesn't mean politics and religion don't get discussed outside of the lodge room, though. And that doesn't mean that passions cannot be inflamed. Um, 83 the Conqueror, I mean, it's the old question to be one, ask one. If you want to be a Freemason and there's a local lodge near you, I would suggest you go to that local lodge and knock on the door and express your interest in joining. Just make sure that if you do that, you bring with you a letter that has your name and contact information on it. Because if they're not available to talk to you, or if they're either not available to talk to you at that moment or they're just not in, you can still leave the letter so they can find you later, or contact you later. Well, I mean, going to a lodge meeting, going to the lodge to clean up, to change light bulbs, to shovel the sidewalk, to vacuum. You got your meetings, you got your practices for ceremonies or rituals, you got your degrees, um, calling candidates, doing record keeping. I mean, there's a million things, a million ways upon which you can spend, your time on Freemasonry. So yeah, it can be a lot. There's coffee clubs in the morning, fundraisers. Well, I definitely don't think the United States are superior. I think Canada is the greatest country in the world. I love, my neighbors in the States. I think it's a great country, but I would definitely not call it superior. I think they both have their strengths and weaknesses, but if you ask me in my heart of heart, without question, Canada is the greatest country in the world. And I think every Mason should believe that of their country. I think if you're a Canadian Mason, you should absolutely believe that Canada is the greatest country in the world. If you're an American, you should absolutely believe that America is the greatest country in the world. If you are uh, from Mexico and you're a Freemason, you should absolutely believe that uh, Mexico is the greatest country in the world. I don't know if he actually revealed any secrets, but also I don't know. I highly question whether he was actually killed by Masons. Nobody knows for sure, and he could have been because Masons are human beings and we make mistakes like everybody else. But like I don't know. It seems very unlikely that he was a because he had a lot of debts, right? Famously, he escaped from debtor's prison. He may have escaped to Canada to get out from under his debts, or he may have been killed by people to whom he owed money. So you need to keep that in mind as well. From Afghanistan, and if I don't know any. I don't think I think as of right now, I could be wrong, but I don't think Freemasonry is legal in Afghanistan. I don't believe there's any Masonic lodges. There was Masonic lodges on military bases in Afghanistan, but I don't know if that is still the case either. Um, so yeah, I can't see it. Who is your favorite Canadian actress? Yours truly, Todd. Is it? I'm gonna guess Nev Campbell because she's one of my favorites, being from Scream, as well as um, not just Scream, but as well as Are You Afraid of the Dark? So I don't know who Amanda Tapping is. I mean, I don't believe in witchcraft myself. I don't not really. I mean, I did meet a couple of Wiccan, Wiccan Freemasons, which I don't know if that would count as witchcraft or not, but Freemasonry is not a religion. I understand witchcraft could be considered religious, so no, I guess not. Would someone in the NSA? I don't think so. I mean, there could be Masons within the NSA and the CIA, but they wouldn't be in the CIA or NSA because they're Freemasons. That would just be their profession, being within. Um, when you say so 83 the Conqueror, you do need to be really careful about that. When you talk about, always be careful with your adverbs, right? That's one advice that I've always taken to heart. When you say completely illegal, you need to be hesitant about that because even within, let's say, a country like the UAE, where Freemasonry is technically illegal, Freemasonry still exists on military bases, including Prince Hall Freemasonry. So you need to keep those things in mind, right? Freemasonry, the extent to which it is quote unquote completely illegal or not, gets very complicated. And oftentimes you'll have, for example, people who will, like people from, let's say, a Muslim country will travel to the West for an education. And then, from there, they will come back to the country and they'll be a Freemason. So keep those things in mind. Freemasonry is not satanic, nor is it devil worship, either literally or any other way. So I'm very sorry to disappoint. We do not know world secrets. We know our what you call modes of recognition, which is a very different thing than having these quote unquote secrets, right? Modes of recognition are private ceremonies which bond us all through brotherhood together. I don't know what it means to be a spirit initiated Rosicrucian, but I do like the Rosicrucians. They're a great organization and a great group. We're going to be ending this stream shortly because, like I said, I got to get ready for my special event tonight, and it is snowing. So I want to get ready to be there. Need to start getting ready now because it's a pain in the butt to get there. If anybody's listening to this and you're coming to the Windsor Masonic Temple tonight, drive safely. Give yourself more time to get there. We don't want anybody obviously getting into an accident because the weather is bad. So that'd be my little warning for everybody. And make sure maybe you have, for example, a something in your car, especially coming out of town, like an emergency kit. Because if you get yourself in an accident, you want to be able to protect yourself and be safe. Let's give it, let's say, 5 more minutes. That'll be us to 2:30. I wheel there. I don't drive there, but I still want to be careful and give myself time. So good for you, yours truly, Todd. 3 lodges. That's going to give you a lot of time, or that's going to keep you very busy. I'm a member of actually 3 lodges in my town as well. I'm a member of 5 lodges all together. Okay, so Amanda Tapping, she was in Stargate SG1. That's okay, cool. I don't know what else she was in. I can't think of her from anything other than Stargate. I'm curious. I'm gonna check out her filmography and her television thing. So she was in Stargate SG1 from 1997 to 2007. Then she was in Stargate Atlantis. Cool. You learn something new every day. So I guess you're a fan of Stargate then. We're going to give it just, let's say, 3 more minutes just to see if anybody else jumps in to say hello. If not, we're going to be ending this stream, but thank you everybody for being here. Like I said, the next big thing we're doing outside the normal streams is January 18th at 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be doing a practice run of streaming on multiple sites at once. multiple platforms at once to see how it goes. And then the 21st of January at 2 p.m., a 24-hour live stream. Nice. So I'm guessing you're a Stargate fan then. I've done a bunch of conferences in my life, but it's always been scary movie conferences. Never, like, cause that's what I more go towards. I enjoy horror, but sorry, I enjoy science fiction, but I don't love it. For me, what I love ultimately is scary movies, anything horror related, including Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, all that good jazz. So, yeah. But I'm glad she was super cool. I've been really lucky with all of the people I've met at these scary movie conventions. Maybe I'll show that during my 24-hour live stream. Who knows? I feel like everybody I've met at these streams, all the actors have been super friendly, super nice, super cool, and I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Um, and I'm grateful that they've always been, like I said, I'm grateful they've always been so good. Well, I think one of the worst things could be to meet somebody that you love, at least from a, love their work and love their characters, and then they turn out to be jerks. Never happened. I can say probably my favorite character in any franchise, any film, anything was um, is Lisa Wilcox. She played Alice Johnson in Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and Nightmare on Elm Street 5. I love that character. Alice Johnson, the actress is Lisa Wilcox. I got to meet her at a bunch of different conventions, and every time I met her, she was super nice, super sweet. It was really cool. Um, well, thank you, Say What You Mean. I appreciate that. I try my best to have good vibes, and I appreciate you supporting the stream. That's very kind of you. Keanu Reeves would be really cool to meet. I'd love to do that as well. Here's a really cool person as well. All right, guys, we're good. We're at 2:30. I will see you all again in 1978. Or no, I will see you all again in 1979. And if you know where that comes from, actually, hold on. Let me get the quote exactly right. What was the All right, I will see you all again in 1974. And if you know where that line comes from, you can be my friend. So yeah, see you guys later. See you all in 1974. Um, no, geez, Certified Ripper jumping in with the last minute question. All right, I'm going to answer that question because it is one question that kind of bugs me a little bit. One of my favorite memes, I guess you'd call it, it was somebody, they posted a picture of a cathedral and they said, "Why don't we build wonders anymore?" And someone else posted beneath it, um, "We do," with a picture of an MRI machine. Maybe our ability in the skills trades have declined. I don't know, whether it be carpentry, masonry, stonemasonry. I don't know. I'd also say, we are doing things that, like, if you took the average person in 2025, and took them back in time 500 years to the building of St. Peter's Basilica, or any cathedral, or even all the way back to the pyramids, they would find it impressive, but they wouldn't be shocked or amazed. They wouldn't consider what they were seeing to be magic. If you took somebody from 500 years ago, brought them into 2025, showed them a telephone, a computer, an MRI machine, x-rays, um, airplanes, cars, they would think that we were magic. They would be terrified, right? What I am, the Chris is handsome. So the tallest skyscrapers, yeah. Cathedrals are nice. Show them the CN Tower, you know, and ask them to compare the difference. Um, so maybe we're actually better at building things and better at the world in 2025 than they were in a few hundred years ago. That's not to mean, look. no disrespect for no disrespect for I'm trying to think of the term. Like no disrespect at all to the builders of the past. The pyramids are incredible. Cathedrals are incredible. The Parthenon is incredible. But this cell phone is pretty incredible too. What I'm doing right now, talking to people in real time around the world on a phone smaller than a paperback book, is pretty freaking incredible. Spaceships are incredible. Satellites are incredible. The tallest building is incredible. So we all need to just calm down a little bit about maybe giving currently the short shrift or short thrift. I don't know how the right way to say it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see y'all soon.